Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Wednesday. I seem to say that to you every day, don't I? Happy Wednesday. Hope you're all doing okay. Now, this is a really cool lesson. You will love this one. There's lots of creativity involved. There's lots of different ways you can do it. And I'm hoping that one or two of you might actually like it so much you might remember this lesson in years to come when you're collecting your Oscar in Los Angeles. And you remember those lovely Year 5 teachers that helped you out when it was coronavirus lockdown. Anyway, let's get to that in a few years' time. For now, though, your learning target today is to sketch the opening scene to reflect poverty, hardship, and struggle. Let me read you a bit more. The setting for Little Shop of Horrors is a poor, dark, dirty, nasty place somewhere in New York City, USA. Everyone is poor. Kids don't go to school, there are gangs around, work is hard, and that's if you're lucky enough to have a job. Nowhere is safe. Check out this link to see the opening scene of the movie, and you might want to sing along. Click where it says click me there, or use your device to click on the QR code. Now, today we want you to imagine that our school are going to put on the Little Shop of Horrors as a play, and you have been asked to design the set. The set's the background, the scenery, the thing basically you see on the stage first before the actors come on out for the very first scene. Now, I'll have a look at a few examples on the next slide. Now, before you go about doing that, click on the link here. Now, obviously, this is a movie, and I'm happy for you to use ideas from the movie, but don't let the movie take over your creativity, and don't simply recreate what it is you see. I want to know what's inside those amazing brains of yours. So take some ideas, but don't take everything. Think to yourself how you would produce this, how you would put a set together if you were the guy designing it. And that is you today, boys and girls. And have a little sing along with it as well when you click on the link. It's really cool. So these are some examples of sets, all right? I can't remember where they're from. I think this one here may be The Lion King or something. One of these is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. There's other random plays there as well. Now, these plays that are performed in theatres. So typically with a theatre, you have a background, you have a great big stage, and you have stage left, you have stage right, where the audience sit. Now, in most theatres, the audience sit at the very front and they watch straight ahead. Not in every theatre. There are special sorts of theatres whereby you have action taking place, believe it or not, in the very middle, and you have audience sitting all the way around the outside like a circle. Sometimes, for example, you might have heard of amphitheatres, which the Romans and Greeks used to do, whereby that's like half a semicircle. Okay, so in these typical sets you can see on the screen here, if you have a look, you can see the backdrops. Now, the backdrop is that colourful thing. In this one in the bottom left here, the backdrop would be those drawn Tudor houses in black and white. The backdrop here in this scene in the top left would be the bricks. The backdrop in this scene in the very centre would be that bluey sort of background. The backdrop in this scene here looks like it's some sort of forest scene where there's some trees, maybe at twilight, because it's like a blue sort of colour. The backdrop here, well, that's a stage that's got two floors on it, the lower floor and the ground floor. So have a think. What do you want your backdrop to look like? Think also about props. Now, props are things that you can bring onto the stage and take off of the stage as well. Take a look, for example, in this one here on the top right. You've got a chair and you've got tables and things around there. In the bottom right, you've got a chair, you've got a table, some sort of bookcase, maybe some papers and things. Props are things that you bring on to add effect. Now, this is an interesting one. Have a think about the lighting. Now, when you're watching the Little Shop of Horrors opening scene, pay careful attention to the light. Is it light? Is it dark? Why is it light? Why is it dark? What is the director, what is the producer trying to get you to feel as this is happening and this is going on? Now, sets are always filmed, well, most of them anyway, are filmed indoors, inside, so the audience and the directors can control the lighting. Okay. Levels, what that means is, are there everything on the same level, or is something higher or something's lower? For example, again, if you look at this on the bottom right hand corner here, you've got this guy here who is on a higher level. Why is that good? Why might that be helpful? Why might it be good to have a couch directly below? What can this guy at the top do that the audience can see that the guy on the couch can't? Maybe in your set you want to have some levels that are of different sizes. Sometimes you can have high levels, low levels and medium levels. You can have no levels at all, up to you entirely. There's also something to consider here with places to hide. If you look here, typically in this top right hand option here, you've got like a little cave almost here to the right hand side, where you can have an effect whereby an actor is in that small little gap in the far right there with his head peering around a corner and somebody sitting in a chair. The guy sitting in the chair won't be able to see the person peering around the corner, but you as a member of the audience will be able to see that. There's also sometimes spaces for people to act and spaces for people to run around. Now, in Little Shop of Horrors, maybe in the opening scene there's not a huge amount of running around, so perhaps you don't want lots of space. That's up to you. Now, when I was at school, I used to do quite a bit of acting myself, and we always used to talk about being centre stage. Now, some of you people love your acting, and it's a nice metaphor to use actually to say when somebody is centre stage, it means all the lights are on them, everybody's looking at them, and all the attention goes on to that single person. It's the perfect location for somebody who's going to be singing a song or a group of people who are going to be singing. So again, if you look typically at the middle option here, there's somebody with a red costume on, they're centre stage, and there's plenty of space for them. They're not distracted, there's nothing blocking them, you can see them nice and clearly. Finally, you might want some seats, some places for people to rest. People who might not actually be acting, but they might actually be needed on the set to give your set a little bit more context. Okay, so that's typically what your set needs to include. So there's a few ways of doing this. I found quite useful to Google how to draw a set design for a theatre. Now, when you sit in the audience, you'll see something like this. So on the top left-hand corner there, you've got some curtains, the red outer curtain, you've got the black inner curtain, and then you've got these squares here which show how much space you've got to play with. Remember, that picture is drawn in perspective, so it means that it's basically a rectangle, but it looks more narrow at the back as it comes to be more open at the front. Look now at the bottom option on the left. You can see where the audience is sitting, and the bit that spills over, that's in front of the stage, the apron here. That could be quite useful. And I guess somebody, if they were centre stage and singing and acting away, they would be where the R of apron is down there. So what I've done for you is I found a very simple design which is on the right hand side of this slide here. It's a rectangle, and you've got stage right over here because it's for the actors looking out, so that's going to be their right, and you've got the actors stage left there. So the audience, when they look at the screen, they look at the set, sorry. What's happening on the audience's left will be the actor's right, and obviously vice versa. Let me show you a bit more. So this is what a good example could look like today. This was the background I was talking about for you. All I've done basically is I found like a background of bricks that I've pasted onto the slide on the computer. I've also put on a shop front as well. The name of the shop, maybe, that might be quite useful to have. I've got a lamppost over here that might just have a tiny bit of light going on because I want my scene to be quite dark, as I'm trying to reflect obviously the emotions of what's happening in this quite dark and gloomy first scene. Now, what I've done is I've given you this slide here on your activity booklets this week. So if you want to, you can replicate, you can copy something like this for the opening scene. You can use different background, a similar background, add in extra props and things. I really don't mind. Alternatively, if you want to, you can do something completely different. This here is what I would like you to do to sketch the opening scene to reflect poverty, which means people not having a lot of money, hardship, to suggest that the people have lives that are difficult, they're tricky, they don't get what they want very often, people aren't very nice to them, and they live quite sad lives and struggle. Sometimes they get things that they want, but most of the time they've got to struggle to eat, to make good quality relationships, to live, to get money. So be creative today. I want you to sketch for me an amazing set. Be really careful about how you shade, how you draw, how you create these slides. I'm expecting some amazing work from all of you. Because this is a Wednesday task, if you want to, you can roll it over to Thursday. So you can hand it in Thursday when we can mark it for you the very next day. What's also really important is we're not just shading and colouring in, you're also giving me examples to explain yourselves. So here, for example, it says the background is, well, why have you chosen that? Explain yourself. You've put the name of the shop here. Why have you done that? Obviously, it's because it's Mr. Mushnick's flower shop. But why, for example, is the U of Mushnick's flower shop hanging upside down? Maybe the nail's fallen out and Mr. Mushnick's not managed to replace the nail yet. Why was that? So, have a go at this one. Be really creative. Put some good heart and soul into it. Have a good old think about how this can be a really, really cool activity. Very, very best of luck. We look forward to seeing some amazing artwork very soon. Take care, boys and girls. Good luck.